Let me start with this. Because of the title, some of you will be here for the very first time, just wanting to hear what the hack was, maybe for some safety info, find out if it's the same thing that's been going on other places. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jimmy Snow. This is my channel, Jimmy Snow. I am a fat lumberjack of sorts, woodworker also, just swiping Tinder until I find the co-host of my dreams. This is a channel where we build ergonomic furniture for ferrets. Work at home furniture specifically for those who, for whatever reason, need to social distance. Ferrets specifically. Recently, I think I'm just going to leave that in. Okay, so sometimes, here's the thing you don't know about me. Sometimes before I get started, I say gibberish beforehand to get into character. And that's what it's going to be. So what do we do over here on this channel? I don't know. Maybe we'll mention it later. Let's talk about getting hacked. It sucked. Did you all see how long this channel went down? Here's the wild thing. I was able to get my issue addressed faster because this channel has a large number of subscribers, a larger number one than actually the main project I've been working on. This channel called The Line. It's right now one channel, soon to be 3 channels with call-in shows. There's a bug on the ceiling. You're going to see me keep looking at it. I'm positive. I can't not. It's anyway. I actually was able to use resources from having the bigger channel over here to get the problem addressed more quickly over there. And then this one was sort of, because we had shows sooner on that channel, this was the one that was supposed to go second. And so we had one channel that took like a day and some hour, like a few hours basically, to get the channel back. But it wasn't ready to be published yet. It wasn't ready to go back into like circulation because of things that the hackers had left that I had to clean up. I'm still cleaning up, kind of. That's a sort of longer conversation that it's more of like fixing now problems that you wouldn't want to still republish outdated stuff. Anyway, all that to say, the channels are both going through a period of refreshing content, putting content back up, updating descriptions, and then deciding what content I even want to still have up. I'm going to throw this in here at the closer to the beginning. Use the code SNOW at checkout at adamandeve.com. And if you don't know what that is, make sure you're an adult before you go there. I decided after recording to come back and put this one in because that's a good thing that can be helpful, and y'all like to shop there anyway. So it would be, if you want to go do that again, SNOW at checkout, that would actually be great right now. That would be phenomenal. It helps us renew our what would you call it? Our relationships with awesome sponsors like that. So it's not actually an official ad, but there you go. Okay, back to whatever we were doing. That's what's going on now. The hack itself, if you have heard of this session token hack that happened to ginormous channels, including a big tech channel you would expect nothing tech bad to ever happen to, Linus Tech Tips, very similar thing. At some point, some sort of file, some sort of executable or .scr file ran, and it was able to take my cookies and basically on a foreign computer, at least it appeared foreign, it could have maybe not been, and they were just using a VPN in Belarus, but Belarus was the location. It can pretend that it's my computer over here, just teleported instantly to Belarus, and YouTube and Google go, that's fine. Sure, you did that and then immediately tried to delete 2-factor authentication. How long would it take us to write the amount of code that says if those two things happen in succession, a rapid change in location, like an impossible, especially change in location, followed immediately by removing 2-factor authentication and changing the password? I mean, how long would it take us to write the code to say you need to first enter your password, existing password, before you do any of that? However, the shitty thing about this hack is that it bypasses completely 2-factor authentication. It bypasses completely having a strong password. It just makes it look like to the service that you are signed in. And it ended up taking out my YouTube channels, The Line we were down for 2 days, but The Line was, I didn't have back The Line and all the subsequent stuff for several hours, and then having to fix everything, like my channel name and username, took 2 more days to fix, or a day and a half more to fix. Even though when they sent me the channel back, they were like, don't forget to fix that back. You don't want it to look like you got the same name as the hackers, because we can't just revert your channel back to the state it was in a couple of days ago. Can't do that. There's no, what we can do is give you back access and then ask you to go through and unfuck the whole thing. Which, to some degree I get it, but to other degrees I feel like those security features, like Facebook, at least, they can still do the same thing where they can appear to be you on Facebook and be in your session. But if you try to make any changes, it does make you put in the password, and they don't have that. It would appear they don't have that. And so what they did on my Facebook was just changed my username and my picture, but not my security settings. And then they violated the terms of service, which still got me banned from Facebook. But because I'm a public figure, I was able to get it recovered. Unfortunately, the type of way they got me banned, if you're not a public figure, you're probably never going to get your Facebook back. It's a sad thing. It's a sad reality. I 100% recognize that it's kind of shitty because I'm not like huge. I'm a public figure. I barely, anybody ever refers to me as famous or anything like that, I just find to be a delusional person. I show constantly on here, between all my channels, one, how stupid I am, and two, how totally human I am. But anyway, I do digress. Where were we? That I'm a stupid lumberjack who makes ferret furniture? Is that what we were just talking about? I've been updating tons of safety features and everything. I will put a link in the description there's a much longer, I think 3 times as long, what was it? Maybe 20 minutes, 25? I don't know. That goes into much more detail. I put it over on the line. If you really want all the details, all the tea, all of that stuff. Yeah, that's with the tea. There's no gossip there. And to tell you the truth, I'm now so off-put by the concept of ever being mistaken for a tea channel that you might have noticed in the last year, I have dramatically changed my approach to even response content to make sure that's not the case. Any content that's going to continue to be like past content will have a larger emphasis on this isn't just about, not even just, I'm not here trying to humiliate a person and us all feel necessarily good because we hate that person. However, I will try to humiliate a doctrine that we hate, humiliate an ideology that we hate, but taking it out of the people themselves, because the culture surrounding the obsessive dislike of specific characters, especially characters whose impact on society is minimal, despite the fact that they represent ideologies that are larger. I'm being very much more cautious of going forward. And speaking of, I guess I'll take the opportunity to go ahead and say it here, and this will be probably published on the last day of April to tell you what goes on in May. There's big changes coming. Huge changes coming to this channel and the future. So here's what you can expect for the next several months. You're going to see me do more live streams over here. I would actually say, on average, let's just say minimum once a week, starting very soon, maybe even in the month of May. And that will be all covering the types of things you're used to me covering, the combination of things, all in an effort to build a new version, but a familiar version of the Sometime Show, which did end a couple of years ago. Not actually because of the performance of the show. I know there are people out there who like to talk crap about it, that the show itself failed or anything. It actually didn't. It was going great. And we had finally passed that moment where people had started to realize, like, okay, I'm getting what this is and everything. But other things got in the way, the types of things that simply wouldn't get in the way now. And so a new version of the Sometime Show, I'm going to be experimenting with different stuff, but also jumping back in now because it's begun. The 2024 political season has begun, and I've said that I wanted to take a break until it was time to come back. Trump and Biden are both announced. They're both in, and things are heating up to a point that it's impossible to avoid that side of stuff as much as I have been. So it's time to come back to that. And in that time, I will also be experimenting with a lot of things to make sure that when we launch, and that date is September 1st, the new version of the Sometime Show, which will be a 2-hour live show. Did I just say the date? Starting September 1st. It's hard because I expect you all to listen to me, but clearly I don't listen to my own fucking voice. What is wrong with you? You're the problem. It's returning September 1st. It'll be a 2-hour show. It will feature an hour of segments and segments and stuff that will be a little bit more familiar to people who remember the old thing. However, there will be some changes. Thank you. This is the opportune time for you to go into sleep mode. Awesome. Awesome television. So great. So glad. I'm just going to start messing stuff up more and contribute to my own. If someone's going to ruin all of this, let it be me. Lumberjack and ferret furniture. The second hour will feature heavily a call-in portion, not for the entire hour. That way we can try and cut off at the appropriate time. Generally, that show will have the hard stop at 2 hours. It will be a 2-hour show, at which time when it's over, certain things will be done with it for distribution on other platforms. And the other two big changes, I would say, are going to be to the channel itself. My project, The Line, is expanding and growing rapidly. It is becoming a monster. As a community, it is becoming a beast. It only has about 84 to 85,000 subscribers right now. However, it is performing like a channel that has much more. In fact, it performs like my channel did when it had much more and was much more active, and I was much more active on. The things that we have planned for it, as far as in-person community building, conventions, all of that stuff is very exciting, and it's definitely the direction things are going. And this channel will become a part of that network of shows. The Line being the network, the channels being The Line. We're now launching The Line X, the third channel, which will be this channel, but potentially renamed. However, maybe not. I don't know. I haven't figured out how the rebranding and renaming is going to go yet for this channel. However, when the Sometime Show launches, it will be the Sometime Show on The Line, and it will become a part of, that's the September 1st. In the meantime, you're gonna get to see lots of stuff. That first hour of programming and the stuff that we're going to be experimenting with will feature heavily the types of things, basically everything that's ever been great about this channel, if anything has been, elements of that will be in the Sometime Show. The plan right now is for the Sometime Show to be Monday through Thursday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. Central Time is my current time zone. If you didn't know, I moved to near Austin, Texas. I don't actually live in Austin, but I live near Austin, Texas. Let me think. Is there anything else that I think you need to know right now? Patreon will also change pretty significantly. The current model that it's on will probably change to a right now it's on a per creation basis with up to 4 creations per month. That will probably change to a monthly thing, and it's going to be exclusively for Jimmy Snow specific extra content. You're still going to get the fundamental stuff, the shows themselves, but there's going to be little extra content on the Jimmy Snow Patreon, which will be separate from the Line's Patreon, just like every other host on the Patreon on the Line has their own personal Patreon. It will be my little personal thing that will be for separate, specific access to content and events featuring me, that little bit of extra stuff. Those are going to be the big things that are changing. Those are going to be the big things that are moving. I'm very excited for the trajectory of things. And I will tell you, the hack was horrible and I hated it. But it gave me a moment to go, am I happy? And am I doing what makes me happy? And what's funny is, in a lot of ways, yes. Specifically, the things that have been making me happy is building this Line Media Group, whatever you want to call it. It's funny to call it that. The Line Media Group. For those of you who are Linus Tech Tips fans, their group is called Linus Media Group. So Line Media Group's pretty funny. But building that organization up, a lot of that I've loved in the production end. But as far as content creation goes, yes, I'm liking doing the call-in shows. But I've said it before and I've said it again, and I understand that there are people who have come to this channel who go, the Sometime Show is not the version of your content I can enjoy. Now, first I'm going to say, I hope you'll see what we have planned and see if you like the new version of it. Yes, there will be familiar elements, but there's going to be adaptations and changes, and I'm excited for that. And just see if you like it. But if you don't, no hard feelings. I was in a very, very dark place for multiple reasons. Things related to YouTube, things related to personal life. The first time that stuff went around. So then when problems came up, I definitely lashed out, and it was this perfect combination of bad things in my life that were making all of that tough. And then after that happened, I sort of, after it went away and we couldn't figure out how to get everybody back on the same schedule to bring it back, and some things were starting to look uncertain, there was some, it's funny because there wasn't really substance relapse in the sense of I didn't relapse to the specific drug I had a problem with in the past. I had basically a singular moment with that drug, and it didn't end up being a problem. But I would say I relapsed into some addiction stuff with other chemicals and we'll say liquids and medications. And that didn't help either. That didn't help what then followed either. And so really low and dark times that then at some point I moved here and got to have that experience of, it's not a fresh start. I mean, when you're a public figure, it's like most of your interactions with your audience don't change because you move, because you don't see your audience in person very often, though there will be audience in person stuff once we get our community center open, provided that's able to happen. Just a ton of reassessment, a ton of changes, a ton of things that were holding me back before that aren't going to hold me back now. And now a great team and group of people who are supportive and fantastic, as well as better expectations and interactions, I feel, with our audience and things to expect. And so for those of you who started with me over here, for those of you who have liked things from over here, I hope you'll come along for the ride. I will say, once all of this has changed by around September, there will still be a few more months of dedicated content. And I think you're actually going to see lots more dedicated shorts. Like pre-recorded. When I say dedicated is really what I meant. But besides that, after September 1st, besides pre-recorded shorts and occasionally things that are highlights or something I might want to feel inspired to make, or a documentary that I might feel inspired to make, once September 1st comes around, I would expect this channel to be 95% live shows. Live shows built to be highly consumable after, but live shows. And there's also going to be some sort of relationship with clips as well. So maybe 95 is a ridiculous number. Getting hacked sucks. And the amount that you're currently probably doing to protect your stuff isn't probably enough. The types of hacks that there are out now are, there's lots of people who are going to be crappy and like, well, you did it. You or somebody clicked one of the things. And I don't know the precise way, though. In the other video, I do guess what I think was the thing that happened, but I can't know for sure. I do know which machine, at least, and that machine has been purged of any potential further problems, at least based on the old thing. I have this, I can feel a cowlick on the back of my head. It makes you feel a lot of self-loathing. Because here's the thing, when I say I got hacked, I know a lot of people won't even be able to empathize or sympathize or like just the sheer terror at first, because you don't really know at first what's happened. You don't really know what the fallout's going to be. You don't really know what you're going to be able to get back. You don't really know what data of theirs they have of yours also. I don't have anything that I'm particularly ashamed of, but still lots of things which are private. And that could have been unpleasant. And I'm sure there's like photos and like if they had my iCloud, like at some point I probably had like a little lump on my bum and decided to use my camera to investigate, stuff like that. It's very personal, not necessarily ashamed of, those sorts of things. The bum lumps, the lump bumps. This has gone off the rails. Whatever you're doing now probably isn't enough. I was doing a lot for cybersecurity beforehand, and now I'm doing more. One of the things being I don't leave live sessions open ever. And when I say I don't leave a live session, when you say it like that, it's like, well, that sounds obvious. You shouldn't do that. A live session is that thing that allows you to walk away from your computer, maybe even turn it off, maybe go to bed, and come back and you're still signed in to your accounts. You don't have to re-put in your password and do two-factor authentication. On top of that, I've also changed the way my two-factor stuff works, hopefully to a way that would be harder to bypass just instantly, especially with the live sessions expirings. Basically, you need to periodically, if not daily, sign out, because the way these hacks that you or somebody assists in, because you do run the executable, they are built to intercept normal everyday things. So you get a familiar type of email. For example, one of the types of emails that these hacks were going out on look exactly like they come from YouTube. And if you inspect every element, including the email address and everything else, they have somehow created a basically perfect spoof, including the sort of metadata that tells you whether it really came, like the stuff you can inspect. Is this really from? They've spoofed the whole thing. And so then you go to click what you think is a PDF or an attachment or a sponsor offer with a term sheet or something like that, in the case of a lot of YouTubers, or you go to download a program that is usually safe to download, and yet they have somehow intercepted, cloned the website, and then usually using Google Ads, raised it to a high up result. So you are actually even in a website you're used to seeing, and then you download a file and you run it. They are built to intercept, and these are just a few examples, they're built to intercept everyday things you do, so that it is hard, and it should be almost hard based on that, to be able to figure out how this even happened. Because it's an intercept of everyday activities. The reason why I got a clue was, one, I did do something that was a little bit unique, not terribly unique, but it's still close to an everyday process. And two, I was able to see which machine this basically had cyber teleported. And so it sort of at least limited the scope of things, only things I do on that machine could have done it. Stressful time, terrible stressful time. Okay, at this point, this isn't even any shorter than the other stuff, but I've said a bunch of random things. So if I could leave you with this, use the code Adam and Eve at checkout. Use the code SNOW at checkout at adamandeve.com. If you don't know what that is, just make sure you're older than, I think 18 or 21. I don't know. Be an adult before you check that website out. But you get 50% off, so that's dope. That's it. That's all I got. All right, bye.